What is word stress and why is it so important? In English, we sometimes have words that are identical, but they are pronounced differently depending on their word form, if they're a noun or if they're a verb. Listen to the difference. The Prime Minister will present the award to the winner. I received a present from my best friend. Think about it. Look at the sentence structure. Which is the noun and which is the verb? Here's another example. Factories produce a lot of pollution. Fresh produce is available at the farmers market on Thursdays. Now, if you've identified the nouns, then you should be able to figure out our general rule. When nouns and verbs are identical in spelling, the stress normally goes on the first syllable of nouns, and I say normally because there are exceptions for everything, and it goes on the second syllable or the later syllable for verbs. Let's try one more. Take a look at these two sentences. Decide which one is the noun, and then read it out loud and stress that first syllable of the noun. Pause this video and try it. In the first sentence, that is a noun. I want to see significant progress in my English this year. Now, don't panic if you pronounced it differently, because in England we say progress. But in North American English, you'd say progress. I don't care if you say progress or progress, but I do want that stress on that first syllable. So, how would you pronounce the verb? We've got to stress the second syllable. That first syllable, it's just a schwa. So in England and in the States, we pronounce it the same way. I want my English to progress. I want my English to progress significantly this year. So, progress. Can you think of any other nouns and verbs that are written exactly the same? Leave me an example in the comment section if you know any more. Now, for those of you who don't know me, hi, my name's Anissa. I'm the online English teacher, and I'm from England, but I did live in Canada for a long time. So I have more of an international accent, which most students do find really easy to understand. I like pointing out the differences between the two varieties of English so that you are well informed about what you're listening to and what you're producing. But it doesn't really matter which ones you use, as long as you feel comfortable and you remember it. So I've made a few videos using photos from the news to help you level up your English, mainly in terms of grammar and vocabulary. So I thought it would be a good idea if everyone could pronounce photograph correctly. But more than that, the various word forms associated with photograph are commonly used to demonstrate this concept of word stress and how different syllables are stressed in different word forms. So let's take a look. So word stress means what part of the word are you stressing? And when we stress something, we're doing this with our volume. It normally gets louder. With our speed, we tend to slow down. And with our pitch, that is the intonation. Is it higher or is it lower? Now, I know a lot of students don't like playing around with pitch, especially if your first language is a tonal language, like the different varieties of Chinese, for example. Because in tonal languages, that pitch can totally change the word that you're trying to say. But in English, you don't have to worry about that. You're still going to say the same word, but you're going to change the importance that that word has. And of course, word stress is a lot easier in languages with more fixed rules and written accents to indicate where the stress lies, like Spanish, for example. Now, I will make some more videos on pronunciation, so I'm really curious. What is your first language? Leave me a comment and let me know, because that is going to help me target those specific aspects that you might be struggling with. Of course, a Chinese speaker, an Arabic speaker, a Spanish speaker, a German speaker, they're all going to have different issues with different parts of pronunciation. So let me know what your first language is in the comments. So let's dive in and take a look at the different word forms connected to photograph. Pause this video and I want you to think, what word form are they? Are they nouns, verbs, adjectives, adverbs? What are they? Then, how would you say them? Do this out loud, not in your head. So pronunciation practice, pronounce things. So hopefully you've got a good idea of the word forms. In the first sentence, we're looking at a countable noun. They are things. I've got thousands of them on my phone, mostly of my dog. In the second sentence, it's still a noun, it's still countable, but now we're talking about the person. In sentence number 3, it's a noun, but it is uncountable. So we're looking at the subject. For example, the subject that you might study at school, at university. Then in sentence number 4, this is an adjective. If you look at the end of the word, that ick, that suffix is really common in adjectives. Okay, so now you know what they are. Let's look at how to pronounce them. So if you are being British, then you would have photograph, photograph. If you're American, it would be photograph, photograph. So the stress is still on that first syllable, faux, faux, faux. But that vowel sound changes at the end. Photograph or photograph. Which one do you prefer? I took lots of photographs on holiday. I took lots of photographs on holiday. Photographs, photographs. Practice both of them. Decide which one is more comfortable for you. Now our stress is moving. So when we're talking about the thing that we are taking, we take photographs. But when we talk about the person, it is a photographer. Photographer. That stress has moved. Now, the only difference here between British and American is how strong are you going to make that R at the end? Is it a photographer or photographer? Photographer, photographer, fur. That's the only difference. When I was a child, I wanted to be a photographer. Try it out. Now, our stress is not moving for the next one. It is going to be photography, photography, photography. It's still on that second syllable. Photography is a passion of mine. I love photography. Oh, I'd love to study photography at school. So now we are looking at the adjective photographic, photographic, photographic. Where's the stress? Photographic. Hopefully you can hear that it is moved again and it is photographic. Photographic. It's moved. Now, here there is a very small little difference between British and American, and it is that lovely T that we all know from water and water. Water, water. That t, d, t, d. It's not a true D sound. We call it a flapped T. So, graphic, that's British. Photographic, photographic, that's American. Photographic. So actually, I'm more American with this word. I always say photographic, not photographic. Good quality photographic equipment is expensive. Good quality photographic equipment is expensive. So to review, we have photograph. Then we have our person, photographer. Then we have the subject, photography. Then we have the adjective, photographic. Photograph, photographer, photography, photographic. So I have got a big tongue twister challenge for you later, but let's start off with a shorter, slightly easier tongue twister to get us warmed up. Take a look at this. Pause the video and think how you would say those different words. Don't worry about being really fast. Just consider your pronunciation and where the stress is going to lie. Let's look at it word by word, and the first word is for. For. Now, if you're trying to sound more American, you can add more of an R to the end of that, but I'm being British with this word, so for, not for. For, I'm going to say for. And word number 2. Think about this. How many syllables are there in this word? In order to determine the number of syllables, you have to have a look at the vowels, or more specifically, the vowel sounds, because we normally have 1 syllable for every vowel sound. So identify the vowel sounds and you're going to know how many syllables the word has. In this case, we've got fortunate. Fortunate. But we're not going to stress that oo in the middle. It's going to become a schwa. So for, the same as the number, for, nut. Fortunate. Fortunate. Where's the stress? Fortunate. So we've got for, fortunate, and we need photographers. Photographers. So this is the noun for the person, so the stress is on the second syllable. Photographers. And don't forget that z sound at the end. Photographers. Photographers. Z. I need the z to make sure that they're plural because we've got 4 of them. Okay, so this is an interesting one. We did not look at the verb earlier, and I know I said that if a noun and a verb look the same, then their stress changes. But I think if you rewind, I think I said it usually happens, or it normally happens. This is one of those cases where it doesn't change. The stress is the same. So take a look at my photograph. Photograph. I would love to photograph that tree. Photograph. It can be a noun and a verb, and the stress is the same. So you've got 2 things that you need to think about. Are you going to have an A vowel sound like an American, photograph, or are you going to have a British, photograph, photograph? What are you going to use? And are you going to flap that T like an American, photograph, photograph? Or are you going to have a true British T, photograph, photograph? Now, the next word, you might not even know the meaning of it, but we know that it is a verb. So, frolicking, frolicking. If you have a look at the IPA transcription in a dictionary, you're going to know where the stress goes because it will have that little apostrophe. And that's where you're going to put the stress. Frolicking, frolicking. Now, just be careful with that final G because we don't want to really pronounce the G, G, G. It's just more of a nasal N. Frolicking, frolicking, frolicking. If you say G, then it's going to stop our flow, and we don't want to do that. So, if you're curious about the verb frolic, it just means to jump around, to skip, to hop, to be really playful. And we normally use this for animals out in the wild or in a field, or sometimes with children as well. So, frolicking children, frolicking calves, frolicking lambs. So I told you that we normally describe animals and children as frolicking, so you can kind of guess that fawns are animals. And I gave the example of calves or lambs, and those are baby animals. I also said children frolic. So fawns are going to be a baby animal. But a baby what? That is the question. Go and Google it. Let me know what you find out. So hopefully Google told you that a fawn is a young deer. So think of Bambi. So we've got frolicking fawns. They're just jumping, hopping, skipping around in nature. So now that we've got all of our words, let's put them together and try this tongue twister. For, fortunate, photographers, photographed, frolicking fawns. For, fortunate photographers, photographed, frolicking fawns. For, fortunate photographers, photographed, frolicking fawns. So pause this video and practice saying it until you feel comfortable. Focus on getting the stress right more than your actual speed. And then we're going to try a really challenging one. Okay, hopefully you did well with that tongue twister. Now for the challenge. See if I can do this. A photographer focused on furthering his photographic faculties, fortunately photographed a field of frolicking fawns, forecasting his future fame in the field of photography. Oh, let's take a look at this together. So you'll notice that I've got some commas there, which means that that information is extra. It's just some nice little added detail. I could remove it and say, a photographer fortunately photographed a field of frolicking fawns. Stop. I could also remove that last part in the commas as well. I don't need that to make a full sentence. But I've added it, one, because I wanted to make your lives more difficult with pronunciation, and two, it's adding more detail. So, a photographer focused on furthering his photographic faculties, fortunately photographed a field of frolicking fawns, forecasting his future fame in the field of photography. A photographer focused on furthering his photographic faculties, fortunately photographed a field of frolicking fawns, forecasting his future fame in the field of photography. So, hopefully you found this class interesting and you rose to the challenge of my really difficult tongue twister. If you like this class, please let me know with a like and subscribe so you don't miss any future videos. I do a lot of videos on grammar and vocabulary, but every so often you do need to focus on pronunciation, and tongue twisters are a really good way of doing that. But if you absolutely hated this video, leave me a comment and let me know why. Okay, take care, everyone. Don't forget to check out my other videos as well, and I will see you next time. Bye.